Michael Sussmann, 57 years old, charged with lying to the FBI about the Hillary Clinton campaign's plan, secret plot to link the then candidate Donald Trump with a Russian bank. All right, so Sussmann was acquitted today. Jury said he did not lie to the FBI, and I got Brett Tallman hanging in, but I just want to tell you what Donald Trump said before we get to Brett. So I'm a person who believes in the jury system in America. Donald Trump believes the fix was in because it was a D.C. jury. As I mentioned, I just talked with him. He said there was no way that this was ever going to be a conviction because his name, Donald Trump's name, was behind the charge. So if it had been anybody else, President Trump believes there would have been a conviction because the evidence was there, according to Donald Trump. Okay? Now, let's bring in my probably the best guy, most honest guy about all this stuff, former U.S. Attorney for Utah, Brett Tallman. So you've been watching this case, and last time we did talk about the jury in the D.C. pool having to be liberal. It's probably the most liberal area in the country. So you weren't surprised that Sussmann was acquitted, correct?
No, I was not surprised at the acquittal. And in fact, very few people are talking about this one important factor, and that is, it's two parties that select a jury. It's the judge that has an impact on who can sit on a jury, and it's the parties themselves, the government and the defense lawyers who have challenges. One thing that's not talked about is the fact that this judge refused to see bias, to find bias in 4 of the jurors who were Democrat campaign contributors, 3 of whom to Hillary Clinton, 1 of whom whose daughter was on the same sports team. Bill, in any other jury across this country, a judge that's not political is going to eliminate those for bias immediately.
Sure,
he refused to do it in this case.
Yep. Okay, so that gives Durham the right to appeal, and do you believe he will?
No, once the jury has been impaneled, the government's appeal rights are very, very limited, and they cannot appeal the consistency of the jury. And so his hands are really tied at this point, and he basically has to suffer the loss and move on.
Okay. Now, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. So you have to, if you're a jury member, convict someone when there's evidence beyond a reasonable doubt. That's how simple it is. Evidence beyond a reasonable doubt leads to a conviction. If that's not there, you have to acquit, whether you like them, you don't like them, whatever. In this case, Sussmann spoke to FBI counsel James Baker. Nobody knows who he is. Do we have his picture? We'll put a picture up there. Nobody knows who he is. But this was the guy who, we don't even have his picture, Brett. Maybe we'll get it later. But this was the centerpiece of the case. And he was the FBI counsel, and Sussmann went and said, hey, look, I'm not operating out of any malice. I'm a citizen who's worried about the country, and that's why I'm bringing you this bogus stuff about Trump. He didn't say bogus, but it was. Now, Baker had said different things when he testified in front of Congress than he said at the trial. Did he not?
That's correct. That's right. And you hit on a very important point. He was under oath for both. And so Durham really does have to take a look at his testimony as well as Mr. Mook's testimony, where they seem to be inconsistent from prior instances of being under oath or being investigated and interviewed.
So if you are a jury member and you see your main witness, Baker, contradict himself, makes it pretty easy to acquit, does it not?
Yeah, it makes it easy because the standard is so low when you have inconsistencies like that. I mean, the jury is left to say they can just, if their political leanings are pushing them that direction anyway, they need very little nudging at that point when you have an inconsistent witness.
You give them a reason.
Exactly.
Look, this guy Baker, he's the main witness against Sussmann. All right, he's the guy who Sussmann allegedly lied to, but he said something different in front of Congress. So how can you convict Sussmann? Pretty simple to me. If I were on a jury, I might have said not guilty. I might have said it. Now, can anything happen to Baker because he's now, as you pointed out, under oath saying two different things?
Yeah, I mean, I guess Durham has to decide what he wants to do with a couple of witnesses who appear to have gone inconsistent statements while under oath. I mean, perjury is an option, obstruction of justice is an option. The bigger question, though, is does he have any wind left in the sails going forward? And are there other targets that he's been, eyeing that he's seeking indictments for?
Now, it'd be easy for Biden and Merrick Garland to shut all this down because they say, look, we're not going to waste any more of the taxpayer money, blah, 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 blah. Last word.
Yeah, that's right. The one thing that I think you're very wise to point out is what does this do at the Merrick Garland level? Because he now has the ability to say, you know what, this was your big, introductory case.
Right.
And yet now you didn't get an indictment, so let's shut it down.
All right, Brett, we appreciate it very much. Thanks. And just so all the viewers know, I believe that Hillary Clinton herself and her campaign did this, and it was a dirty trick. They did it, and it was all contrived and designed to bring false information in front of the American voter in October of 2020 so Clinton would win the presidency. That's what I believe. All right.